All right, so I'm getting ready to dig in here to winterize the boat, and nobody's here to help me, but figured maybe I should document this so you guys kind of have a clue. I know Cal, you helped me a couple years back, but anyway, there's lots of little parts and pieces that would be good to know. So, all right, before I really do anything, I'll just show you the stuff that you need to do this. I already kind of charged the battery here with that to be sure that I'm not dealing with electrical issues. I've got my 5-gallon pail, and that's going to be for and the hose is all sort of set up and ready to go, so that reaches. I have to add that extension piece here. That's the valve on the end. Remember that thing? Sort of helped me sort of control it at the boat, so I'm going to run back and forth to the house. So in this box, and on top of it is a little bit left over from last year antifreeze that I put in the sucker. There's, I think, 6 jugs inside that box. I've also got gas cans here because I want to drain it's probably the last one of the last things I do is drain the gas tank of all the regular gas and put in a little bit of the good gas, so there's really no ethanol in the system at all. Actually, no, I'm going to do that first so that only clean gas is running into the carburetor and everything. Sorry, I had that out of order. And this is siphoning tubes and things to get the gas out of the tank. Funnel, whatever stuff to pick up dripping. Like when I'm going to replace the fuel filter and replace the oil filter, which are kind of over here. I forget now. This is the oil filter, that's the fuel filter underneath, some gas stabilizers, which I probably don't even need, and the rest of this is all the oil, because I'm going to do an oil change. I'm going to change this is for the oil change, the pump, knowing you know what that's all about. This thing is setting the gap on the spark plugs, because I got new spark plugs. I had to go to 2 different auto shops today to do that. And fogging oil spray, which is basically when I'm killing the engine at the end, you just kind of like douse the carburetor with this stuff so that it's lubricating the rings and valves and everything else, so nothing sticks for when I try to start it up for next year. So anyway, that's all the parts. Will be a separate video for the next steps. All right, so for starters, kind of have to hook up the water, right? This is the hose that goes all the way back to the house. You know, water's off at this point, but I can't do this without 2 hands, but I'm gonna tighten this up on there and then do the next step. All right, so I turned the water on from the house, but somehow the handle thing for this thing is gone, so I gotta try to just using a wrench. Turn the water on to see the water's kind of rushing into here. So I know it's flowing. Couple drips, but so now that's connected, so we're good. All right, I'm gonna start it up so that we can get the oil flowing and all that, and contaminants and all that stuff suspended in the oil before I drain it, right? If you remember, you gotta kind of prime the carburetor by pushing this thing down a couple times. You can hear it sort of sucking the fuel through, and we'll see how this goes. Like an idiot, I forgot that I had taken the spark plug out of the hole. You can see there. There's the wire, so no wonder it really wouldn't start. I've got to put this sucker back in temporarily to start it and run it all, but then I'm going to replace all of these. All right, let's try again. All right, put the plug in, the wire back on, let's try again. Much better. I was hearing a couple of little puffing sounds from the carburetor area. That's interesting. But it seems to be slowed down. All right, I'll just let it warm up for a bit. Still sounds pretty good. So now I've got the oil extractor hooked up and running. It's hooked up from the battery, the cord is going up from the battery. And then I've got the exit tube going into this semi-empty bottle that's filling up. And the other end on the intake side, we put this tube into where the dipstick was, all the way till it sort of bottoms out, so it's in the bottom of the pan, so it's sucking away. At some point I'm gonna have to stop it and switch to another bottle because this is gonna fill up. But anyway, so it's working so far. All right, getting near the end of the sucking the oil out part. Doesn't get much coming out anymore, so I'm gonna turn that up. That thing is so great. Okay, so I disconnected the extractor and everything. All you really gotta do is like try to drain out the tubes a little bit. And this little plugging that's on the end is sort of easy to take off. You just kind of squeeze that and pull it off, whatever that makes it so it doesn't just sort of keep dripping forever. There's one on either end, small tube, and the other one. So that's that. I'm gonna shut the water off. Probably should have done this earlier. It's just sort of like spitting out the back for no good reason. So gotta turn that stupid valve again, and then I'll take care of that. Because I'm gonna drain the gas next. Then put some of the good stuff in before putting the new oil in and all that stuff, and then firing it up with the new oil and fogging the cylinders and doing all that fun stuff. Finally got this thing siphoning. It was a bit of an escapade. A bunch of different noses not working, whatever. It's working now finally. So a little painstaking. All right, so now I'm gonna pour some of the good expensive gas in, but I kind of need two hands to do it, so that's next. All right, back in the boat after getting the gas out and putting the new gas in, and going to replace the oil filter here with that one, and the fuel filter here with that one, using oil filter wrench. Well, the oil filter's not coming off so easy, as you can kind of tell. A little bled. I think I need to find one of those rubber things to put in between so it's really grabbing, because I pull hard and then it slips. This is the rubber thing I speak of, and it seems to be turning when I yank it out hard, but I sort of need two hands, but it's working. So you kind of want to put something under it though, because oil will spill out and kind of get on the carpet, but otherwise, that was a pain. You know, put this on. Oh shit! The water or the oil is still kind of spilled on everything in there, but not on the carpet. Oh well, clean that up. So I got that kind of cleaned up. That's where the oil filter goes back on. I think I'm going to be careful not to put it too tight this time. And yeah, quite a bit of oil comes out of the filter, probably, I don't know, half a quart, 3/4 of a quart, something like that. So kind of gotta capture it. All right, shoot, I need two hands. All right, so I need two hands to do it, but put your finger, get your finger wet with oil, and you gotta put that on the gasket. You can see how it's shiny there. That's from me. I'm gonna screw it back on. Probably only using the oil filter wrench a little bit, just so it's not too tight. Moved on to the fuel filter here, and yeah, it actually, I thought maybe it would, because it's vertical, not much would spill out, but it does, so you gotta be a little careful there. All right, so new fuel filter on, much easier than the oil filter was over here. All right, next we gotta put oil in the engine. Definitely remember to put oil back in the engine before you start it, or that'll be a big mistake. So just take the cover off here with the PCV valve connected to it and everything, and some kind of funnel. I'm definitely gonna need two hands for this job, so I'm just gonna fill it up and let you know after. All right, so I got the oil in, put the cap back on. It was actually a gallon and a quart, so 5 quarts so far. But once you start it, you know, a bunch of oil ends up filling up in the oil filter down there, so you'll probably have to top it off again. So I'm going to do all that first. Next, I need to get into the whole antifreeze part of this project, and I have about an hour to do it, so I'm not in good shape. All right, I'm gonna start it. Just remembered I needed to turn the water back on, so I did that with the wrench. See how this goes. I hope the battery didn't get used up too much from that oil extractor. Oil, a little hard to see that, isn't it? Crap, it's focusing on the wrong thing. Come on. A little hard to tell on this side, but then when you flip it, you can kind of see where the oil actually starts. Anyway, it's on the low marks, so low to full is about a quart, so I need to add probably almost a quart before I'm done with the oil part of this thing. Okay, so I put a whole another quart in, ended up taking 6 quarts, and that's still full mark. I just turned the water off here, you know, the little, this thing here, and I gotta take the hose off of this, and I'll show you the next step. All right, I took the regular garden hose part off there, and now what you need to know is on this Perco thing, now there's the little tether here. Normally this is when we're boating. Whoops, oh Jesus. Just gonna make sure I find the cap. Anyway, this is kind of on that tether, and this goes in the end of this sucker. And then I'm gonna screw this green hose here. It's just a section of hose that I use to suck the antifreeze out of this bucket once I fill it all the way up. So anyway, that's the next step. All right, so I stuck that thing in the end here, and it kind of like pushes in. So now I gotta screw this sucker into there. And by the way, I can't find the cap. I kill all kinds of time trying to find that thing next. All right, I finally got the hose on. It wasn't threading on very well, but finally got it on without cross-threading it. It was tough, and I did get the cap. I found the cap, so that was kind of crucial, or we were gonna have big problems next year. So the next thing I gotta do is, and I don't know if it's absolutely necessary, but that brass thing kind of in the middle there, you unscrew that, and that will let water out of the block. That's on whatever, this side of the engine. And there's another one right there, more toward the front on the other side of the engine. All right, so I kind of already started it, loosened it rather. When I loosen it more is when it will actually start to pour. I mean, the next step when I suck all the antifreeze from the bucket into the engine would kind of push all this water out, but I figure, well, why don't I just get as much of the regular water out of this thing first? Then I gotta remember to tighten this back up again, or all the antifreeze will just drain into the inside of the boat. So anyway, so just to show on this side, same deal. Let it drain. Technically, there's a couple more of these. Where the heck are they again? But they're on the manifold. Oh, technically they say you should. Sorry, I don't know. Supposedly at the end of that, there's somehow a way to let the water up. It's kind of pointless if I'm filling the whole thing up with antifreeze anyway. What I'm doing is might even be pointless. The only other place I could think of that there's sort of a low spot that I should be able to take the thing out is that. Remember that thing, the one we put in was like a U-shaped back when we did put all the new tubing on here. It's this U-shaped thing. There's a, gosh, I can't see what I'm pointing at. There's a little nut on the bottom of that thing right here. Technically you could loosen up that. I've tried to loosen that thing up before, forget it. In the spring I'm just going to replace this anyway because we already have the part. I just have no time today. Alright, so I'm just working on getting this thing more filled up. I've only got 2 in there so far. Hopefully use a lot of this. This is a 5-gallon pail, so I'm going to like add some when while the engine's sucking, but it's not that bad. It'll be fine. Remember, you can't forget to tighten these back up again, the drains on the block. So, you do that next. Alright, so getting ready for the next step. Got the bucket full. Got a couple of extra bottles ready to refill the bucket while it's running. Hopefully this is hooked up right. If when I start the engine, stuff is spitting out of here, I'm going to have to stop it and figure out what's going on. I think I got that connected right. And then took the spark arrestor off the carburetor because I'm going to need to use this fogging oil. So while it's running and this bucket is almost empty, you have to spray the crap out of the carburetor until the engine either stalls on its own or is about to stall. So that kind of like primes all the cylinders and the rings and everything else, whatever. And then after that, you're supposed to take the spark plugs out, spray in each of the holes, and then I'm gonna put the new spark plugs in, of course. I have to set the gaps and everything first though. It's 0.35, I think. Anyway, whatever, future steps. All right, about to start, and hopefully we'll be sucking the antifreeze in. If it isn't, I'll have to shut down and figure out what's happening. Oh, not sucking, not good. All right, not good. All right, this time I took out that little adapter piece I showed you before from here, but I don't think that's right. I'm too lazy to get the directions, but that'll be the next step if this doesn't work. Cross my fingers. I'm killing more time. Nope, not working. Crap. Let's try again. Alright, I realized what I was doing wrong. I was really doing nothing wrong up above, but under the boat, I was supposed to cover the raw water inlet. So there's your duct tape. Alright, gonna give this another try after taping the bottom, the raw water intake. Although I'm a little concerned because I thought I was charging the battery last night and I forgot to plug it in. So we'll see how this goes. Oh, actually I forgot to prime the carburetor. All right, here we go. Oh. Try that again. Oh, hey. Speed up slow. That's important. Didn't have that before. That's very important. So it's sucking on the bucket. Lift up the hose all the way down. I'll just slowly fill up with the other jugs as time goes on here. So far, so good. Still going. Got the carburetor ready to spray the fogging oil in. But I got the other two buckets, bottles empty in there. Still seems to be flowing. Feels like a little bit slowed, but not much I can really do. A lot of temperature should fine. I'm going to finish up there. gets close to the bottom, that's when I just start fogging the cylinders. Alright, we're getting there, and I'm a little concerned because the water temperature is getting up there, which is a little bit odd, but probably because it's not flowing very fast. This might leak at the duct tape, I don't know. But not too much left. I don't want to get too close before I do the... Yeah, it should probably start now. Here we go. Does it stumble a bit? Supposed to do that. Stalled out, that's fine. Alright, just put the spark arrestor back on and just going to dismantle stuff, get the hose off, get the bucket out of here, whatever, and get ready for the next steps, which is replacing spark plugs. I just wanted to mention something. So this adapter piece is what came out of in here, right? With the washer on the outside of that, and then the hose was stuck in. I took all that out, kind of put this back on this tether so you don't lose the part, right? And then I got to put this back in, you know, with the, sorry, terrible video, with the gasket and whatever. So I'm just going to kind of put it back together so it's normal operation for next year. That's really about it for that. All right, so I haven't taken the spark plugs out yet, but for the new ones, before I put them in, you have to make sure that you set the gap, right? Which is the gap between the electrode and the other thingy. And looking it up in the original manual, it's 0.032, so the sum of these two is 0.032. So you put these together, and it's hard to do with one hand here, but that needs to sort of be a tight fit, but you can slide it in and out fairly easily. And so I got to do that with the other side of it. So I just figured I'd show you. I took the spark plug wire off before I get the plug out. You know, this is kind of the arrangement you need. Deep set socket happens to be 13/16, if you can see that. Universal joint, because you can't get the angle otherwise. It's not like a straight shot, so this generally works pretty good. It's all like 1/2-inch drive stuff. All right, so I started putting them in, just figured I'd kind of sort of show here, sort of under the exhaust manifold thing there. I needed 2 hands to actually do it, but you can sort of see what you're doing from above in between here, you know, just to sort of make sure you're kind of lined up with the plug and all, because you don't want to start torquing it on an angle and snap the white insulator. It's kind of pretty easy to do, actually. I did it last year, so it kind of sucks, but all right, so like an idiot, I started to put the plug in, realizing, oh crap, I didn't do the fogging in the spark plug holes. So you're supposed to spray that same stuff that I was putting in the carburetor before into each hole of the spark plug. And I'm just kind of doing one at a time. I'm just going to do it 8 times. But yeah, so now I got to do that. So I've only got 2 plugs replaced at this point, fog the cylinders and all that, but then kind of realized that, sorry I forgot about this, but this third one down, kind of hard to see. Anyway, it's buried behind the fuel filter thingy, so kind of have to take that out of the way in order to fit the wrench in and do anything, which means taking those nuts off the screws at the bottom and whatever. This whole thing just kind of can lay down or whatever, get out of the way. So sort of a pain in the ass for one stupid plug. See, now that's out of the way. Now I can get to the thing a heck of a lot easier. All right, so I replaced all the plugs. fogged all the cylinders with that spray. That little sort of extension piece thing there, you kind of put it way in the hole, spray for about 3 seconds in every direction. Here's all the old plugs. Kind of in order. I was just sort of curious if any of them seemed like they were different than the others. That would be kind of a bad sign. Anyway, but the next thing I'm going to do, this is kind of the last step, is just I guess get the lubrication that's on the rings, and I just sprayed it in everywhere, like all the way through the whole sort of whatever compression stroke, if you will. So I put this breaker bar thing on here. I forget the size of whatever the heck size fits on there. I don't know. I can't see it. 15 sixteenths. Anyway, put the sucker on the end of this, and you can actually turn the engine over. Like it's amazing that you can do that. Like when you think of this, all the moving parts and valves and rock arms and cylinders and all that stuff. Just kind of a little hard to do this without 2 hands, but anyway, I'm gonna do that a little bit more, and then that's kind of it, I think. So yeah. Oh well, I did also opened up the you kind of see it dripping. I just kind of figured the less liquid that's in the engine, the better. I'm collecting it underneath, and yeah, it definitely is whatever the pinkish purple fluid or whatever, so it's not just water or something like that, so that's a good sign, obviously. So I'm just might as well get most of the liquid out of the engine, but wherever it remains, it's antifreeze, so it should be good. All right, so here's where I was just collecting it from beneath. The only purpose, because it's environmentally friendly and all that stuff, is just verify that it was coming out the purple and not just water, which I don't know how that would be possible, but just to be sure. So it is.